Well, I think what I'm gonna do is I am going to go through I'm going to start with the onboarding course and just kind of give a brief overview of everything that's there. And I've done this before, but I just wanted to do another call specifically for beginners and people who are just starting out. And that for some people may mean that they've just joined the group recently. For some people, it's, like you said, people who have been in the group for, a year or 6 months and haven't really done a deal yet. Um, but we definitely had over the past few months a lot of people joining, and even over this past weekend at Chicago seminars as well. So that's the reason I decided to do this call. Um, but yeah, it's going to be pretty much just all covering the basics and stuff for beginners. So if there's anyone on here who's like not a beginner, I'm probably going to be talking about stuff that you already know. But obviously you're free to be on here anyway if you want. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and start going through some of these things here. So like I mentioned, I want to start out with the onboarding course because I think that is a very, very valuable resource for anyone who is just getting started. And then we'll look into, some specific types of deals. So Kroger and Meyer are two that I'm gonna look at, but we can also look into some other ones like HEB and some of these like Amex offers and online deals too. Um, and then after that, I'll go over a few credit cards that are really good for grocery store deals, that are helpful for just maximizing the value and cash back and points that you get from some of these promotions, because obviously that's a big part of it too, right? Because if you uh if you use a card to get you 4x or 3x at a grocery store as opposed to 1.5% or 2%, that makes a huge difference. In addition to just the rates that we're paying at any given time. And then after all that, I think to conclude, we can just do a general Q&A if anyone has any specific questions that they'd like for me to answer. So anyway, this is the homepage, obviously, of our website. Everyone on here should, I assume, have an account on here and has already registered. But here you can go into the onboarding course and you can go either directly to each one of the different modules, or you can just click on onboarding home. And then that takes you to this page, and you got all the different modules here that you can just click on each one and go into. So the first one is basically just an overview of QCGC and how everything works. There's a few different ways of looking at or viewing this. So you can either do it this way, even though I feel like the text and everything is kind of a little bit small here. You can also just open it up as a Google Drive file and read through some of the stuff here. So that just gives a brief high level overview about how a lot of this works. Stuff about the business model with reselling gift cards, a little bit about our background, how the whole process works, and just this cycle that you're essentially going through with like buying the card, selling them, getting paid back, and then paying off your card and keeping all your points. So that's something you can, check out if you want. Then here we've got some examples of different types of deals. So, Kroger, Meyer, Dollar General, different online deals, and then some Amex offers as well. And these are all meant to be just pretty brief and very high level, not too in depth. It doesn't go into too much detail. It's just kind of a high level understanding of how some of this works. And we do have some deal guides, so like more detailed guides for specific types of deals in module 8, which I'll show um, later on in this call. But this is just a brief high level overview of some of these. And obviously this is not a complete list of all the different types of deals that may happen. It's just more so giving, some examples. And so here it talks about, like deals from mygiftcardsplus.com. One that's pretty popular that happens every few months is where they give 15% cash back on Adidas gift cards. And normally we buy those around 87% of their face value. So I mean, if you are getting 15% cash back, meaning your cost to actually acquire the card is essentially 85% of the face value, and we're paying 87, then you're making a profit of 2% even before considering your credit card points and cash back. Now the caveat with that one and a lot of these other online deals, like I mentioned earlier, is they're not very scalable. So typically they'll limit you to 1 or 2 units per person. So you would have, like, if you wanted to really scale those, you'd have to find a way to do more orders and look like you're a different person each time. And then some stuff here about Amex offers, and of course there's Chase offers and City offers as well. But basically with the Amex offers, it's you now I'm gonna assume that everyone here is pretty familiar with Amex offers, but I mean, you go in there in your account and you look at all your offers that are there, and it'll be like, all right, you spend X amount of money at a specific retailer and you get, X% back in the form of statement credits. Or they might give you, a specific amount of Amex MR points. It all just kind of depends on the offer, but there are some that they do, like these with the ones that they do with Tory Burch, they typically happen around every 6 months, where you get 20% back in the form of statement credits. And the amounts vary. So sometimes the offers will be, spend $300, get 60 back, or spend $400, get 80 back. But you're basically getting the card at 20% off. And then we typically buy those around, 87%, or at least that's what we've done in the past. So that's a 7% margin on those, even though, again, those are, not super scalable unless you use something like card pointers, which a lot of people do use. And that basically allows you to, like, activate the Amex offers on all your Amex cards simultaneously. Because normally if you activate it on one, even if it's available on other ones, it will, essentially disappear. So, so that's that. And then, these 3 here are really just about things specific to how our process works within QCGC. So this one is, using the Telegram group, and it's just, how to basically, download Telegram, use these links to sign up, or no, sorry. Yeah, those are the links to actually download it. And when you signed up on our website, that's when you actually got the automated welcome email, which contained the Telegram links. So you click on those to join. And yeah, it just shows you like how how the deal posts look and the different aspects of each one. And then also things about the group chat, and then using the reservation sheets as well, which we post. So you basically, we'll post a sheet, and I'll show some examples of those later for ones that we posted recently. And those contain the capacity for the amount of cards that we're taking, and the specific brands and the rates for each one. And you can basically reserve, spots to be able to actually purchase the cards and send them to us. So that's that. Module 4 is about using the submission template spreadsheet. So, I mean, basically you click on this link, which is this is just a public sheet. And you end up making your own copy. And then you use that to submit your cards to us every time that you're going to add new cards. So, but this onboarding course does a really good job of walking through everything step by step, and also including visuals of what everything looks like. just so you can make sure you're doing everything correctly. And then you got stuff here about actually sharing the submission sheet with us and entering your payment info and your contact info, so we can actually pay you for the cards. This one is this one covers actually submitting gift cards. So once you have your submission sheet set up, then once you have, after when we posted a deal and you've gone and reserved capacity, and then you've gone and purchased those gift cards, whether it's in store or online, and you're going to submit those, this module goes over that. So this first, section of the module basically just goes step by step in detail, all the different pieces of data that you'll need to post or that you'll need to add into your sheet. Um, you know, so the brand, the value, or that's, also known as the denomination, the actual gift card number and the PIN, what rate you're selling it at to us, based on what the rate was on the reservation sheet when you reserved capacity, what date you're sending it on, basically all these things. And then it also talks about how to, actually use, or how to actually send us the cards as well, because we basically have this kind of makeshift, like temporary portal that you open up, and then you just put your details in there and you hit send, and then we receive the cards. It automatically processes those submissions on our end. There's this part as well about using a barcode scanner, which a lot of people do just to make their gift card submission process more efficient, so that instead of having to type in the full, in this case, like 19-digit gift card number, you can just scan this barcode, which corresponds to that number. And you would first, click into the cell in the spreadsheet where you're gonna enter that code. And this barcode scanner is a USB barcode scanner. So on the other end of this, it's USB. You just connect it to your computer. And then you scan the barcode and it populates that cell with the number that it corresponds to. You still would have to enter the PIN, because the barcode does not include the PIN. It only includes the actual gift card number. But obviously that saves you, at least 80%, if not more, of the work there, and also prevents errors, specifically with typos and things like that. And there's a brief section here about storing your gift cards, and showing just how to stay organized, because we do require everybody to keep the physical gift cards for up to a year after they submit them to us, just in case there's any issues after the card is submitted, because sometimes, people will like fat finger one of the digits essentially, and one digit will be wrong, which means the gift card will show up as invalid if we or one of our customers goes and tries to use it. So sometimes we'll have to go back to the supplier and say, hey, this card is showing is invalid, or it doesn't have the amount of money it's supposed to have. And staying organized is very important when it comes to going back and finding whichever card it was that we need your help, fixing. So this is a picture here. For example, someone has their cards. I mean, they have the cards and the receipts all wrapped up together, and they also have them organized in these Ziploc bags. So, by month and year, which just makes it easier to go back and find cards if they need to afterwards. This is our terms and conditions. Everyone does need to read through this just so you understand all of the expectations, both, for us and for you as the supplier. I'm not going to go through all this, but this is something that is important to read. And then module 7 is one that I like a lot, and I think is really relevant to, for this call, which just goes over doing your first deal, because a lot of times the hardest part is just getting started. And once you've gotten started and you kind of get into a rhythm, then it gets easier. Well, when you're going essentially from 0 to 1, as some people say, it can be kind of hard. And I think a lot of people with this, and with gift card reselling in general, and doing it to accumulate points and cash back. Um, a lot of people really like the idea and the concept, but then like with actually getting started, I feel like some people might easily feel a little overwhelmed. Um, so I think that's why it's important to focus on getting started and starting small. And that's what this talks about, really, just the mindset behind making it easy for yourself when you're getting started. So this thing here is just talking about starting simple, um, doing a deal that's very easy to understand, and where the dollar amount is fairly low, as opposed to doing a deal where the math is kind of complicated, and or it's a lot of money that you'd have to be doing for the deal. So one example of a really easy type of deal to get started with, are these deals from PayPal Digital Gifts. And they do, you know, uh, they do deals pretty frequently for different brands. But as you can see, like these two here, in both cases, it's, you buy a $50 gift card for $40. So that's super simple and easy to understand. I mean, you're basically buying a $50 gift card at 80% of what it's worth. And, let's say for Adidas, if we were to then post this deal and say that we're buying these $50 Adidas gift cards at, 82% of their face value, that would mean that we'd be paying you $41 for each of those cards. So if you spent 40 and then sold it at 41, you're making 2%. In this case, since the value of the card is pretty small, it's $1. Um, and then of course you're getting your credit card points, which is the main reason and motivation why why people are doing this. Because a lot of times or there's sometimes where the deals can be break even, where you're just getting paid back the same amount you spent, as opposed to something more than that. But these deals are, again, super super easy to understand with the math and how that works, and they're small dollar amounts, which makes them good opportunities to get started, as opposed to deals like Kroger, which we normally have higher minimums for. So if we're taking $500 gift cards from Kroger, and if we need the fuel point accounts to be a certain minimum, then we would also have a minimum on the gift card, and sometimes that's $2,000 or 2,500. Um, so if you're looking to get started, that might not be that could be something that you could grow into, so to speak, but it might not be the best thing to start out with. And then as far as the math with Kroger, it's also different because they're not giving you a immediate discount on the gift cards, but rather they're giving you, you're paying face value for the gift cards that you're buying, and you're getting 4x fuel points along with that. So then you have to do, that math, as far as like how much we're paying for the fuel points, and then the gift cards, and how much you end up getting paid back with both of those things together, since we normally take them as a combo deal, essentially. So yeah, these are really good, deals to start out with, to get started. So now we come to the last module here in the course, module 8, which contains some guides, for some of these types of deals. Currently, we only have 4 that have actually been published. But I would like to I want to finish making guides for all the different types of deals that that we post about. So I already opened a couple here. So, there's this one for Kroger, which is the most popular type of deal, I would say, that we post. They're pretty consistent, and they're also fairly profitable. And they're the main, types of deals that enable us to source, larger denominations of gift cards. So basically the $500 ones. But each of these guides, the whole objective and goal with each one of them is to give a very comprehensive and detailed overview of how the deal works. So with the Kroger one, um, essentially, when you buy gift cards from Kroger, by default, you get 2x fuel points. So if you were to buy a $500 gift card at Kroger, even when there's no promotion going on, you would get 1,000 fuel points for that. And then they do their 4x fuel points promotions, every like few weeks normally. Sometimes they last, like a single promotion might last 2 weeks. Sometimes it might be only over a weekend. Sometimes towards the holidays, it's like an entire month. So it really just varies. And just in case anyone's not clear on this as well, this includes, so not only like flagship Kroger, so to speak, but all of the affiliates that Kroger owns as well. So, if you don't have a Kroger, but you have a Fred Meyer, or you have a King Supers, or you have Mariano's, or anything on this list, you can do these deals. And Kroger is not everywhere, but it's all over the place. And I think it's behind Walmart as like the grocery, the second in second place as far as the most locations for a grocery chain in the US. So they're pretty abundant and in most states, except for some, the people have access to these. So just to go over some of the math, and like I mentioned, some, like, this is a little bit more complex than some of these other deals like PayPal digital gifts. But essentially, you are buying a gift card at face value, you're getting fuel points for it, and then we are buying both of those things together, both of them at a discounted rate as a combo deal. And then that's what you're getting paid back for, is for both of those. So in this case, and these are all just hypothetical examples because the rates fluctuate all the time. The rates that we're paying for gift cards, and obviously it depends on the brand as well. So, we might be paying a certain rate for Target and a different rate for Best Buy. Typically they tend to be in between like 90% to 93% of face value though. So they don't fluctuate too much, but they do fluctuate. But let's just take a hypothetical example where we're paying 93% for a gift card. Doesn't really matter, for this calculation, what brand it is. I mean, we could say like Best Buy, or Home Depot. So let's say we're paying 93%, and you spent 250, so you're getting paid back this amount for the actual gift card. The reason I use $250 for these calculations, even though we typically buy $500 gift cards, is purely just based on the fact that $250 in gift cards, when there's a 4x fuel points promotion going on, ends up getting you 1,000 fuel points. And whenever we buy fuel points, the price that we post is per 1,000 fuel points. So that's the increments that we buy them in. So that just makes the math a little bit easier, in my opinion. So yeah, you end up getting paid back this amount for the gift card. If the rate is 93%, you earn 1,000 fuel points for spending that much and getting 4x fuel points. And then let's assume, and again, this, these rates vary, but let's assume that we're paying $17.50 per 1,000 fuel points. So then what would happen is, you would be getting paid this much for the gift card. You'd be getting paid this much for the fuel points that you generated from that gift card, which ends up being $250, which is the same amount that you spent. So in this case, it's 100% of that original purchase. Now, over the past several months, the market has been pretty saturated with Kroger deals. So a lot of times the rate is actually less than what you spend. So you're not getting back the full amount. So it might be 1% below what you spent. So it might be 99%, which means you are on the front end essentially losing 1%, or paying a 1% fee to do this spend. But the idea there is that the cash back and points that you get on your credit card should be, should surpass that and still end up giving you a profit. And it's kind of comparable to, when people do Visa gift cards and money orders, because with those you are paying a fee. It's normally, around 1% for the Visa gift cards, and then something additional to actually liquidate them via money orders. So it's pretty similar to that, but sometimes it is 100%. Sometimes it's even more than that. So you might be making, a small profit in addition to the credit card points and cash back that you earn. But that's how the math works with Kroger. And all this, the rest of this guy just goes through, a lot of interesting or helpful things to know, and tips on stuff basically. So you can, go in here and read each of these guides on your own time and really dive into it. But that's the Kroger one. And then we've got Meijer, which Meijer is only in 6 states, so they're only really around here, but they do have pretty decent deals as well. So you basically, on the normal promotions that they do, even though sometimes they switch it up and the percentages are different, but normally the most common one is that they give you 10% back in Meijer points, essentially, which can be used for, grocery store purchases at Meijer. And if you live in Meijer territory and shop at Meijer for groceries or whatever, then it's, pretty easy to use those, and you can use them at essentially, their full value. So if you were to, let's say we posted a deal and, a Meijer deal, where they're giving you 10% back in Meijer points. And if we were to buy gift cards at 92% of face value, and then you're able to actually use these Meijer points on personal purchases, as opposed to selling them at a discount, then you're essentially profiting 2% on that. However, obviously that's not very scalable because you're only going to spend so much in groceries every month. And sometimes we are able to buy the Meijer points as well, similar to when we buy the fuel points from Kroger. So, and recently, this example here is a hypothetical example of if we were paying 70% of the Meijer in perks points of what they're worth, and paying $93 on the gift cards. Just kind of similar to how the math works out with Kroger. However, recently the rates that we've been able to buy and sell the Meijer points at have been a little bit less. So it's typically around, like, actually, 50% or 60% of what they're worth. And 50% of this 10% that you're getting back ends up being 5% for the purchase overall. Meaning if we were paying half of what they're worth for these points and we're paying 93% for gift cards, it would only end up being 98% total. So you'd be losing 2%. And if we can pay 60% of what the Meijer points are worth, then you're at 99%. So you're losing 1% on the front end, and then making it up with your credit card rewards on the back end. I won't go too much in detail with these other ones, but there's this one too for HEB, which covers a lot of details there for that. And there's another one for Giant Food, which is up in the Northeast in a few states. But we will continue to add more guides here, both for in-store deals as well as some of the online ones. So, and then just really quickly, here in the Telegram group, the posts essentially look like this. So we'll have the title of it, and then some details on what we have capacity for and the different brands and the rates that we're paying for them. And then there will be a spreadsheet like this. We already had it open, so let's see. I think I had it open here, yeah. With all of that information, and we also just have formulas set up to do some of the math. So if it's like, if each slot is essentially $2,500 of Lululemon, which corresponds to 10,000 fuel points, and we're paying this rate for Lululemon and this rate per thousand fuel points, then we've got this formula here that calculates all that and then gives you the overall combined payout rate that you would get in return. So in this one, you're basically essentially paying a 0.7% fee to to get this spend, and then you're just putting your name here to reserve each slot for however much it's however much it is in gift cards and fuel points. So that's how that works. And then Meyer is pretty much the same, except here in this instance we weren't taking the Meyer points, so it was only the gift cards themselves, with the expectation that the person is going to use the Meyer points on their own somehow. All that being said, I want to now talk about some credit cards that are really good for grocery store spend, because as you can see with some of these deals, you are able to make a profit on top of your credit card spend, but on some of them, you're actually getting back a little bit less than what you spent. So obviously you want to get the most value that you can possibly get, when you're spending money at these stores and doing these deals. So I notated down just a handful of options that I think are some of the best ones as far as maximizing grocery store spend and getting the most value back. So Amex Gold is probably the most popular option for this. You get 4x points at grocery stores up to $25,000 of spend per year. Now, even though they have that cap, you can have multiple Amex Golds. You don't have to you're not limited to just having one. Now, conventionally, you can't get, a sign-up bonus every time. So like if your first Amex Gold, you get it and you get the sign-up bonus. But then if you get more after that, you're not going to get the bonus each of those subsequent times. But you can get the card multiple times, which means that you're going to have that $25,000 a year cap for each one. So if you had like 8 of those, it would be $200,000 a year would be the total cap for you to earn this 4x at grocery stores. Another caveat with the Amex Gold and really any Amex card in general is that most people highly recommend you to not buy gift cards if you are working on the sign-up bonus for an Amex card. So the best practice is to see if you can, hit the sign-up bonus with organic spend that doesn't involve gift cards. And then once you're done with that, then start using it maybe to buy gift cards and get into the 4x. However, even with that being said, I think everyone should determine their own risk tolerance as well. Maybe even talk to other people and ask other people for data points, because I have also heard of people or Amex clawing back points from people for buying gift cards on the Amex Gold at grocery stores. So and that stuff fluctuates too. So it might be that, for a few months, they start really cracking down on that stuff, and then afterwards, like they don't really care anymore. So it's kind of hard to predict. I think for the most part, it's relatively safe, but again, I think that each person should, determine what they're comfortable with, knowing that there's always some level of risk, even if it's low, when it comes to a bank or a card issuer looking at what you're doing and not liking it and like taking back points or something like that. Then this one we got here is the City Premier. They recently, or the past several months, changed it to the City Strata Premier. But aside from the new name, I'm not really sure all the details on what the differences are between that new version and the old version. But with that one, you get 3x points at grocery stores, and that one is actually uncapped. So they don't explicitly specify a annual spending cap where like if you meet that, then everything after that is just 1x, like the Amex Gold does. So obviously it's 3x as opposed to 4x, but there's no cap there. Um, and then with both of these cards, I think one thing that's very important to consider is, and one thing you want to think about before you're making these purchases is what your redemption strategy is going to be for these points, because obviously each type of points, each points currency is different and gives you different options for redeeming them, right? Because for example, with 4x on an Amex Gold, that like there's many different ways that you can actually redeem those points, and depending on how you redeem them, that's going to determine how much value you get. So traditionally, if you were to cash out Amex points, normally it's not a good deal because they let you cash out the points at 0.6 cents per point, which is not very good. So like 10,000 points, you'd be able to cash out as, for $60. Um, as opposed to like Chase, for example, where you can cash out points at 1 cent per point. So 10,000 Chase points would be worth $100 in cash back if you were to just redeem it as cash back. Now with Amex, I believe there is a specific type of checking account you can get with them. It might be a business checking account, or it might be just any checking account in general, that allows you to cash out the points at 1 cent per point, same as Chase does, in which case 4x would essentially be 4% cash back. And one thing that a lot of people do as well is they will get the Amex Schwab Platinum card. And then, they'll have a Schwab brokerage account. And if you have that card, that allows you to get a 10% bonus on cashing the points out. So you cash them out at 1.1 cents per point. So 4x, would equate to 4.4% cash back if you had the Schwab Platinum and cashed it out to your Schwab brokerage account, and then at some point just withdrew that money. Now, obviously, as a lot of you may know, or hopefully may know, you typically get the most value when redeeming for travel. And of course, there's different ways to redeem for travel. So you can either do it through the travel portal with whatever bank it is. So that the Chase travel portal or the Amex travel portal. And sometimes you can get decent value from that, but typically you get the most value from transferring to travel partners. So for example, transferring from Amex to British Airways, and then booking a flight using British Airways Avios that's on an American plane on an American flight within the U.S. domestically. And each bank has different transfer partners, but that's typically how you get the most bang for your buck, with these points. And one tool that I know a lot of people use is point.me to see the different options for that, for actually redeeming the points. And then Citi's the same. So they have some decent travel partners as well that you can transfer to, both some airlines and hotels, and get more value out of that. So it's not unreasonable to to try to redeem, or to be able to redeem these points at closer to 2 cents per point, in which case you're essentially, even though you're not getting it back as cash, you're just booking travel with it. But if you're getting 3x and redeeming them at 2 cents per point, you could say in a sense you're getting 6% cash back, basically. I'm going to check on these comments here in the chat before I finish with this. Pebble, I don't know what that is. Are you talking about pepper? Yeah, let me know. Because yeah, there's the pepper mobile app that's been really good or really interesting over the past several months for gift card reselling. And then Agustin mentioned here about the yeah, having the business platinum and the business checking account, which lets you cash out at 1 cent per point
He's been
with the
snacking
Amex
all
points.
day.
So
He's been snacking all day. So
hold on a
we
second.
didn't eat dinner. We gave him salad.
There we go. So yeah, I'll touch on Pepper soon after I finish these other couple cards that are here. But yeah, then you've got, after the Amex Golden City Premier, you've got the US Bank Altitude Reserve, which gets you 3x points when you use it, when you make purchases with it via a mobile wallet. So, Apple Pay, for example, in a store. And my understanding with those points is that you can just cash them out at 1 cent per point pretty easily. If you wanted to do that, but you can also book travel with them, and I believe it has to be through the US Bank travel portal. I'm not sure if you can also, I think you might be able to do that and redeem it for statement credits, on travel purchases that you made. But essentially, if you redeem the points on travel, you get a 1.5x bonus, which basically means you end up getting 4.5x points in total if you redeem them that way. Starting with that base rate of 3x. And then lastly, there's this Michigan State Federal Credit Union card, which I don't know, how many people have heard of it, but I actually got it like I think maybe 3 years ago. But I mean, yeah, it's just a credit union associated with Michigan State University. But it gets you 3% cash back on groceries, and I believe that's uncapped as well. Since it's been so long since I got this card, I honestly forget what the actual like requirement was for me to become a member of the credit union, because a lot of times with credit unions you have to like either live in their geographically wherever they operate and have branches at, but sometimes there's additional things that you can do with different credit unions that'll allow you to become a member. But yeah, that's another one. So I mean, it's a personal card. And since it's with a credit union, I don't know, like there's probably a certain point where if you went crazy with this card and was spending a lot of money, they might say something or might not like it, but there isn't any specified annual cap on that earning rate. So anyway, that's another option. And then lastly, Doctor of Credit has this article on the best credit cards for grocery store purchases. Now they initially published it, 7 years ago, but a lot of times with these articles that they have on here, some of them they will regularly update them just to make sure that all the info is still valid and up to date. With this specific article, I'm not 100% sure. There might be things here that are outdated, but Doctor of Credit is great in general just for a lot of different things. So you got this list of all these different cards that they consider to be good for grocery spend, and even some kind of quirky ones too. With some of these banks and credit unions that are region specific. So like you have to live in one of several states to be able to qualify for it. But it's like you got this 3x here, 3% back here, no annual fee, no spending cap, but only if you actually live in one of these states. So this is something that I would recommend taking a look at as well. not only this specific article, but also just Doctor of Credit in general, because they have a lot of really good helpful information. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and then I will address any questions or comments that people have. I will talk about Pepper briefly as well. And I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and let's see, hold on. I'll include all these links. I'll just like drop them in the chat. So let's see. Yep, so I just dropped all those in there. So those are those cards that I went over, the link for each one, as well as that last Doctor of Credit article. If you guys want to, review that. So let's see. I'm gonna go through this stuff in order. These questions here. So yeah, with Pepper has been kind of interesting. So Pepper is a mobile app which allows you to buy gift cards, and I think it launched like, I guess, towards the beginning of this year, if I remember correctly. And essentially it started out as, if you were a new user, you would get 5%, essentially 5% cash back. They have kind of a weird point system, but you would get 5% cash back on any gift cards that you buy, and it wasn't specific to certain brands. It was just any gift cards that you buy on there for any brand, which is very interesting, because then some very high value brands like Best Buy and Home Depot and Target and Nike, now you could get a lot cheaper than you could normally get them from Kroger with fuel points. But yeah, so I guess I didn't really finish the stuff about the new users with Pepper. But what happened is you would get an initial 5% back after you made the purchases, and then after like 15 days or so, you would get another 5% back, which was kind of weird. But you ended up getting 10% cash back in total for whatever purchases you made on there. And in addition to that, it was coding as 4x on the Amex Business Gold. So you get 4x points if you use that card as well. That lasted for a few months, and then a couple months ago, they stopped doing that. So they no longer were offering this, 10% cash back on everything for new users anymore. But they started doing different types of deals where it would be essentially like flash sales, I guess, where it's like, okay, but they would be, incredible rates, and they're still doing those. But for an example, it might be like, hey, we're giving 15% cash back on Nike gift cards, but it's only for today, or it's only for the next 2 days or something. So this is one example. So like this thing came out on September 24th, and it expired the same day. So like at midnight that same day. So these are the ones they've been doing more recently, is instead of the 10% cash back across all the brands, it's just brand specific, and they do these really amazing promos, but again, they last like a day, which means we have to be quick with posting them, and then whoever wants to do the deal has to be quick with actually going and purchasing the cards. So yeah, that's that. Darla asked if there's a way to see all the current deals together, or if they're just one by one in Telegram. So currently they're pretty much just one by one in Telegram, which is not, the most ideal, obviously, but we are working on an actual web portal. So instead of having the spreadsheets and having everything be exclusively through Telegram, That's what we're working on is having an actual robust web portal where you could go in there and see all of the active deals in one area. And then also reserve capacity for each one, as well as submit your gift cards in there. We've been working on that since around April, and I'm hoping within the next couple months to have that launched. So that will make things a little bit easier in terms of, seeing all the current active deals in one place. But for now, you would basically just have to go and review, the most recent Telegram post. So like in here, you got there was this, pepper deal here, for example. Another pepper deal there, one from Giant Food, this one from Kroger. So you basically just have to scroll through these recent posts, which again is not ideal, but that's what we have currently. And within the next couple months, the plan is to have a better system for looking at that. As far as any business card with a grocery bonus, which Molly had asked about, there's not any that I'm familiar with or that I can think of off the top of my head. There might be one or multiple that exist, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna actually search, see if I can see if there are any really quick. But yeah, like all the main ones that I'm aware of are personal cards. There are, yeah, so it looks like there's according to this, well, no, that's not even specific for grocery. So obviously there are some business cards that have decent cashback rates. So like 2% cashback. So you've got the, Capital One Spark Cash, the Amex Blue Business Cash and Blue Business Plus, which get, 2% back essentially on everything. But it's still less than the 3% that all these other cards offer at a minimum, all the ones that I covered. So even with something like an Amex Blue Business Plus, if you're getting 2x points, I guess you could cash out via a Schwab Platinum and get 2.2%, but you're still less than the minimum 3% that all these other cards offer. So Mahesh down here asked about if you need to sign up first or fill out a slot in the reservation sheet. So that is correct. Whenever we post a deal, we also post a reservation sheet every time. And that's just so that, we control how much capacity or how much volume and gift cards is getting sent to us, because a deal might come out and, we might be able to take $100,000 or something of whatever brand it is. But obviously if we didn't put a limit or, limit on the capacity and have people reserve prior to sending the cards, then we might get a lot more than we can actually, handle or we can actually take. And that really just depends on demand on the sell side for all this. But yeah, so like I showed previously, whenever we post a deal, we include the reservation spreadsheet with it. So you would just go on there and in the sheet, it will have all the details as far as the brands that we're taking, the denominations that we're looking for, the total capacity, the rates, for the gift cards, and sometimes with, fuel points or Meyer points as well. So it'll have everything in there, and then each row or each line on the sheet is basically one slot, and it'll specify in the leftmost column how much volume is each slot is. So with some of these deals that are smaller denominations, so like the PayPal digital gifts ones, and those are just harder to scale as well. Typically the minimum for those is just one unit or one card of whatever the denomination is. So one $50 card would be, typically the minimum there. Whereas with Kroger, since those are $500 cards that we normally take from there, and most of the time we have to have the fuel point accounts be like a certain size, so a minimum amount of points on each account, just because that's what our customers need. So due to that, we'll have a specific amount for each line where you're going to reserve the capacity. So like recently, as I showed, it was $2,500 of gift cards for each slot. So if you like, that's the minimum in that case. And if you put your name in that name column for one row, you'd be reserving that slot. And unfortunately, if all the slots fill up and you haven't, reserved one, then you wouldn't be able to actually submit anything, at least not for that deal. So you do need to make sure that you, don't wait too long if there's a deal that you really want to participate in, and we post it, because the reservation sheet could always fill up, and then at that point we wouldn't be able to take anymore unless we add more capacity later, if we have more demand during the same promotion. And then in module 3 of the onboarding course is where it talks more about using the reservation sheets. So it's module 3, which is called using the Telegram group, and then like the 4th section of that is called how to use a reservation sheet. So that goes into all the details about how that works and shows some visuals on how like what that looks like and how it's meant to be used. So yeah, that's how that works. I don't see any other questions here, but if you guys have anything else, go ahead and feel free to ask. And you can either just, type it in the chat or unmute yourself and do it that way. But it looks like maybe nobody has any more questions, so we might be good to go ahead and wrap this up, maybe. So if that's the case, if nobody has anything else, we'll go ahead and finish. But I appreciate everybody, taking the time to jump on this call. And if you are a beginner and new to the group, I hope that this helps and will enable you to to be able to get started at some point soon. And I guess just good luck with everything. And if you have any other additional questions later on, so we actually have a chat bot that we added recently on the homepage of the website, and it runs on ChatGPT 4.0, so it can talk to you just like a human would, and it has access to a pretty extensive knowledge base of a lot of things about QCGC and gift card deals. So you can like ask it questions, and if it can't answer your questions, then you can always ask in the Telegram group chat as well. And either myself or another one of, someone else on our team, or potentially even other group members, will be able to answer questions for you. So with that being said, I think we are done. So I'm going to go ahead and end the call, but appreciate everybody for jumping on here. So bye. Catch y'all later.